Hi everyone, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University.
Today we'll be teaching you how to play Scholars of the South Tigris, game designed by S.J. McDonald and Shem Phillips and published by Garfield Games.
Let's get to the game.
In Scholars of the South Tigris, players are the smartest minds going out around the world trying to find the most knowledge and research to please the Caliph. Players will search the world for foreign scrolls, employ the greatest translators, and then translate those scrolls or research directly to increase their knowledge. Whoever earns the most points from translators, research, and scrolls will win the game. To set up, lay out the main board. Cards showing an image with a brown band are translators. From them, flip them over to the non-brown side and separate the 10 that have this back. These are the starting translators. Separate the rest into stacks by their image, shuffle each stack and place it on the matching image. Shuffle the starting translators, draw 4 of them, and then place each into the room corresponding to the number on its card. Return the rest to the box. Shuffle the 10 starting resource cards and then place 1 below each starting translator. These will be used in the starting resource draft later on. Find all the scroll cards, which are these ones with the black seal on the back. The starting scroll cards show a translator's image, and set these aside for now. Look at the fronts of these cards and separate the 4 Caliph cards. That's the 4 that have these 3 asterisk markers on the left-hand column. The rest of the cards you'll shuffle up into a single deck. Now find this card and flip it for whether you want to play a short casual game or a long epic game. Pick your player count and then deal out 6 piles of the matching number of scroll cards shown. Shuffle a random Caliph card into each of the 4 middle piles, and then stack them left to right like so. This layered pile is your main scroll draw deck. With the others, deal 1 into each of the 6 map spaces, 1 into each of the top 3 House of Wisdom spaces, and leave the rest well off to the side, away from the main scroll deck. This is a reserve that might come into play when this deck runs out. Give each player a player board and these coloured pieces. Dice and workers are not player-coloured pieces. Player markers go on the top space of the map track, with the neutral player marker on the bottom. Research markers go on the bottom spaces of the 6 research tracks. Shuffle the 6 goal cards and deal 1 into this space of each player board. Place the matching workers and dice in the left-hand column, and find the starting scroll with the matching image and place it face up next to the player board. Randomly choose a first player. In reverse turn order, each player places an influence on one chosen starting translator and takes the starting resource card underneath it. At less than 4 players, the unselected one remains as a neutral translator, and its card is discarded. From top to bottom, gain the starting resources on your card. First, you'll add a number of dice into your bag. Then draw a number of dice from your bag into your hand. You'll always do this randomly, and anytime you add dice to your hand, you will roll them, and you'll have to play them from these numbers. You'll gain an amount of gold, silver, and workers, and one other benefit, which could be a step on a research track, and when you do this, you immediately gain the benefit shown next to where you end up. Placing an influence into a control position on one of the coloured minarets, or placing an influence onto a scroll card, either in the House of Wisdom or on the map. Finally, flip your starting resource card over. It becomes a player aid and it includes one of your basic incomes. You're now ready to play. Scholars of the South Tigris plays in turns, starting from the first player and going clockwise around the table. On your turn, you will either work or rest. If you work, you'll play 1 action card from your hand onto a space of your player board and then take its corresponding major action. There are only 4 in the game. Recruiting a translator, either to dispatch it to gain its card benefit or paying silver to employ it for later translations. Travelling, to move around the map and ultimately pay silver to bring scrolls into the House of Wisdom. Researching, to move up on a research track and gain silver. And translate, paying gold to the translators in order to take the scroll cards, gain the research for that scroll, and gain access to their endgame victory points. When you rest, you gain income from all of the action cards you've played. You'll gain new dice from your bag, return your old dice to your bag, and return your spent action cards to hand. As the game is played, cards will be drawn from the scroll deck. On 4 occasions you will draw a Caliph card from this deck, and this will be an opportunity for the players who control each of the 3 minarets with their influence to gain some sort of intermediate scoring bonus or engine building benefit. The end of the game is triggered once all 4 Caliph cards have been resolved, and the player with the most victory points will win the game. First, we'll take a look at how to take a work action. The first step of any work action is to choose which of the 4 main actions you wish to do, and play any one action card from your hand into an empty slot that shows that action. Next, you must spend dice and may spend workers to set the colour and number of the action you're taking. Every main action has a minimum number or colour requirement or both. For example, taking an action with one of these 2 translators requires a 7 or higher in any colour. Or taking an action from a minaret requires an action in the matching colour. To set number and colour, place 1 or 2 dice from your hand onto the card and place 0, 1 or 2 workers from your hand onto each die. Let's look at how to just use dice first. When you place dice, the number of the action is equal to the pips on the dice, and the colour of the action is based on the colour you would get mixing the colours of those dice on a pigment colour wheel. This action would be 7 white. This would be 3 yellow. This would be 6 red. This would be 11 blue. This would be purple 5, because red and blue make purple. This would also be purple 5, as would this, and this. Any secondary coloured die will outrank a primary coloured die, treating this yellow as white. Also note that these secondary coloured dice only go from 4 to 6, having 2 of each number. You can then adjust the values or colours of your dice by use of your workers, at a maximum of 2 workers per die. Placing a matching coloured worker on a die changes its number of pips to 6, and placing a non-matching coloured worker changes its colour to the colour of that worker. So what we see here is a blue 3. If I place this blue worker here, it would become a blue 7, 6 plus 1. If I place this yellow worker here, this would now become a green 7. And if I also added this white worker to the right-hand die, it becomes a green 12. The white worker first turning this into a white 6, and then the yellow worker turning it into a yellow 6. White workers can also be helpful in nullifying mixing colours. This, for example, is a green 11, but this worker would turn the green die white and make it a blue 11. Dice that you place will cycle back through your bag every time you rest, while workers are single use. They'll be discarded on your next rest turn. Once you've placed your dice, you now take your main action and any eligible minor actions in whichever order you want. These minor actions are anything else on a brown bar, and they come on some action cards and on retired translators, which we'll talk about later. Once you've started taking actions, you can't add any more dice to your card, but you can add more workers. Meaning that workers gained from your minor action can be used to adjust your values for the main action, but dice gained from your minor action cannot. The first action is recruit. Here you will recruit the top card from one of the 8 translated decks. The number of your action must at least meet the minimum required for that translator, but the colour of your action does not matter. Having chosen a translator, you now have 2 options, dispatch or employ. To dispatch, gain the benefit shown under the X in the top right corner of the card, and then move the card to the bottom of its deck. To employ, take the card, choose an empty room at the bottom of the board, pay the silver in the top left corner of the room, gain the effects or penalties in the top right corner of the room, place the card on its employed side, and place one of your influence markers on top of it. If there are no empty rooms remaining, you can't take this action. Employing a translator makes it available for all players to use in translating scroll, but you will get a benefit when players use your translator. The more your translator gets used, the more quickly it will retire, giving you access to the victory points on the card and the engine building benefit for one of your action slots. The second main action is travel. Move your player marker clockwise up to as many steps around the map as the value of the action you took. You must move at least 1 step. You may freely land on or move through other player markers. If you move over the path that matches the colour of your action, immediately gain the bonus, which will be either influencing a scroll card as we saw in setup, or gaining some money. Then if you land on a white coloured space, immediately resolve the benefit on that space. If you land on a black coloured space, then deliver the scroll in that space. Firstly, if that scroll has been influenced by another player, then you must pay that other player 1 silver, and the influence is removed. Next, choose the top empty space in one of the 3 houses of wisdom. It does not matter which colour your action was, you can choose any of the 3 towers. Pay the cost, which is always 4 silver, and then gain the reward, which is always 1 or 2 influence in the matching guild, 1 gold, and possibly gaining 1 white die into your bag. Deliver the scroll, and replenish the empty space from the scroll deck. If the scroll you delivered already has one of your influence on it, move the influence to the House of Wisdom as well. The third main action is research, which is one way to move up on these tracks and gain some silver. There are 4 different sub-options you can take. If the value of your action is between 1 and 3, then all you can do is this one. It simply gives you a worker and a silver. If your action value is at least 4, then you may spend 1 gold to move up 1 step on the matching coloured track plus gain 2 silver. With this, for example, I would pay 1 gold to go up 1 step on blue. With a value of 8 or more, the gold cost goes away, and you simply move up on the track and gain 2 silver. And with a value of 10 or more, you can pay 2 gold to go up 2 steps on the matching research track and gain 2 silver, all in 1 action. When you land on or move through a space with a transparent backing, this is an immediate benefit, and you gain that now. When you move into a space with a coloured background, this represents an income, and when you unlock that income's effect, you'll get the highest income based on where your marker is. For any steps you gain beyond the top of the track, simply gain the benefit printed above your flag and remain where you are. The last main action is translate. Choose any 1 scroll from the minaret that matches the colour of your action. This can only be done with a secondary coloured action. If there is an influence on the scroll that you've chosen, then you must pay the player who owns that influence 1 silver. Now take the scroll, check the language of the scroll that you're translating. Here it's Hebrew. You'll need to find a pathway through the translators active in the room to translate this into Arabic. Here, for example, this translator gets us from Hebrew to Syriac, and then one of these two will take us from Syriac to Arabic. Pay 1 gold to each of the translators you choose, and pay 1 silver to whoever has influenced each of the translators you choose, unless it's your own. This also applies to neutral translators. You would have to pay the silver to the supply. You can translate through any path you want as long as you don't go through the same language more than once. So I could take this scroll straight from Persian to Arabic, or go Persian to Greek, Greek to Syriac, Syriac to Arabic. However, Hebrew to Syriac, back to Greek, back to Syriac, and then to Arabic would not be allowed. Once you've translated, discard any influence that was on that scroll, place the scroll above your player board, and gain any immediate rewards which are shown with the lightning bolt. This will always include 1 step on a research track, and may include some other benefits. Scrolls are always worth some base number of victory points, and are often worth more based on meeting a certain objective. Finally, slide all scrolls up to fill any empty spaces from top to bottom in the minarets. If at the end of your turn a translator has as much gold as its room shows, then that translator retires. The gold is discarded and the player who influenced that translator takes the card and may slot it under one of these 4 brown action slots. The grey slots are not allowed. Once here, the retired translator is worth its victory points and its minor bonus action. The first translator in each slot is free. Any subsequent translators require you either to spend 1 silver or gain 1 white die into your bag for each translator already there. White dice dilute the coloured dice in your bag and can be worth negative points at the end of the game. Gaining them is considered a cost, not a benefit. If the retired translator was neutral, then it's simply discarded, either from the game if it was a starter, or back to the bottom of its deck if it wasn't. A rest turn is your reset, and you'll go through the following 4 steps. First, you'll shed another card from the scroll deck to advance the game, and to do this you'll draw the bottom card of the scroll deck and move the neutral player marker a number of black spaces around the board equal to the base victory point value of the card you drew. If it lands next to a scroll with no influence, then swap the newly drawn card for the one it landed on. If it lands next to a scroll that does have influence, simply take the new card you drew. Then, if there is a completely empty tower, place the card you've just chosen into that tower. Otherwise, discard your chosen card from the game. Second, get your income. Going from left to right, you'll resolve the income bar on each card or empty space, including this one on your help card. In most cases, you'll get the income from where you've reached on a given research track. But also be warned, the cards that have an extra action at the top all give you 1 new white die to your bag as an income penalty. This blue income is present on everybody's help card, because this is the track that lets you replenish your hand of dice. Draw and roll the required number of dice from your bag to make your hand match the amount shown on the blue track, and then return all of your played dice into your bag, return all of your played workers to the supply, and return all played cards to your hand. Many effects will allow players to influence the guilds, and you place your influence markers into the matching minaret. The first influence placed into any guild goes in this top control space. The player with the most influence in a guild takes control, with the incumbent holding on if there's a tie. So in this case, purple would not be in control, but placing another influence, purple would take over. Controlling the guilds is of most use for scoring the Caliph cards. Anytime a Caliph card is drawn from the scroll deck, you'll place it into the leftmost open slot for a Caliph card. Resolve the neutral event that's underneath the card placed. In this case, you'll add 1 gold to every starting translator still on the board, aiming to get them retired more quickly, and any player who's already retired their starting translator earns 1 silver. For these two, you'll add a new neutral translator to the board. This will be the topmost pictured translator who's not already represented in one of the rooms, reverting back to the top one if they're all present, and placing that translator in the leftmost open room. Then from left to right, the controller of each guild gets to choose one of the 3 benefits printed on this Caliph card, and by choosing it blocks it out for the other players. These are to simply gain 3 points at game's end, to gain 1 point and a new die, or to gain a gold, or gain a white die to auto-retire one of the 2 pictured translators on this card. That means you'll take the top card from one of those translator decks and move it straight to one of your retired translator slots, paying any additional costs for doing so as usual. After the controller makes the choice, any players present in that minaret but not controlling gain this reward shown at the bottom, and then re-evaluate control. Here, purple hangs on. Here, yellow would claim a bonus, purple would get the silver and then claim control, while here, blue simply takes the bonus and does not get this extra reward despite having influence still present. If the Caliph card came from the top of the deck when refilling the map, then keep drawing until the map is full. If it came from the bottom of the deck at the start of a rest turn, then move on to the next step after resolving the 1 card. Each player begins with a goal card, which has 3 separate objectives. For the top objective, you'll gain the reward as soon as you interact with the matching translator. This could be by recruiting, translating, retiring, or any other action involving that translator. The middle reward is gained the first time you translate a scroll from the matching coloured guild. And the bottom reward is gained when you reach step 3 on the matching research track. Once you've cleared all 3 benefits, flip over the card and add it to your hand. This is now a new action card and it comes with a pre-printed white 5 die. You can also now access your 6th action slot. Be wary of some of the action icons in the game. A die showing a plus represents adding that die to your bag from the supply. With a hand means adding it straight to your hand from the supply. A research track's icon means to move up 1 step on that track. That same icon with the research bars represents your position on a track. And that same icon with a hand represents gaining your income for that track. Finally, this effect gives you some options regarding the translator's gold. You can either take a gold from a translator, giving you something to spend on future actions, or you can pay a gold to a translator, trying to make it retire more quickly. It's free to take one of these actions with your own translator. It costs a silver, either to the player or to the supply, to do one with another player's translator or a neutral one. The end of the game is triggered once all 4 Caliph cards have been resolved. Complete the current round and then play 1 more round, and then the game is over. During this time, if you need to draw a card from the scroll deck and it's empty, then go to the ones that were set aside after setup. To score, first take any gold from your unretired translators and add it to your supply. Next, take all the dice from your hand, action cards, and bag and count up your dice sum. This is equal to the total number of your coloured dice minus the total number of your white dice. In this case, it's 8. Dice sums are then ranked from highest to lowest and players get the points next to their position. In the case of a tie, add up the tied positions and split the points evenly. Each research marker gains points based on its finishing row. Players gain any points they've claimed on Caliph cards, and whoever has final control of each guild gains the points shown. Retired translators score points based on the flag in the bottom corner. And finally, score each of your scrolls. They'll all score the base points in their top right corners, and then most will have some other way of scoring points. All players' starting scrolls allow them to cash in 2 silver for a gold, gain 1 point for every 2 gold, and then lose 3 points if they still have 6 or more white dice. The others then combo in various ways. Here, for example, for having lots of retired translators, being high on the orange research track, having translated a lot of Greek scrolls, or having lots of influence remaining in the Orange Guild. The player with the highest score wins. If tied, the tiebreaks are, in order, most employed translators remaining on the board, and most workers remaining in supply.
And that's how to play Scholars of the South Tigris. We hope that you enjoyed the video.
We are using a prototype copy of the game, and so the rules and components may not be final, and do check out the project page for the game. We'll put that in the description below.
If you find this video useful, please help us by hitting the like button and subscribe to us. You can also hit the meeple in the corner to do that, and hit the bell so you'll know when we have new videos. You can also follow me on Instagram for my board games journey.
Comments, suggestions and feedback are all welcome in the comment section below.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.